Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. I'm the Grace Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Friday, February 16th, 2024. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? May I please have the first 5 cards in our 5-card spread? First card, we are still, thank goodness. First card we are starting with today. Everybody take a deep cleansing breath. I know yesterday was heavy. Yesterday, very heavy energy coming through, a lot of energy potentially triggering, but we did see that things were moving into a more productive space, particularly by the end of the day. What does frustration facilitate? Solutions. When we are able to channel that energetic frequency that feels like it's creating that sense of frustration, it becomes a superpower, because that's that moment of being able to alchemize the difficulty and transform it into something that is positive, that is productive. We were seeing this across all the energetic frequencies yesterday. Now, again, in the energy that is in separation, this could have been feeling like I need to get out of here. It's giving that energy of saying like, I got to get out of here for a bit, because this is almost that moment that we're seeing right now. It's like the weight of something is helping. And I feel like you have to accept this. This is like that energy. It's like the energetic equivalent of them saying like, we're making the energy heavy to help you come out of the house, helping you to like move into the spaces or places that are going to effectively lift your mood. Because what are we seeing here? The energy is feeling that calling towards each other by feeling the oppressiveness of the energy that's currently around you. That's how the energy, all of the energy that's working on the healing capacity right now is feeling that. And it is pushing it forward to seek out energy of community, seeking out energy of support, seeking out the solution to the feeling that you're having is effectively amplifying and allowing the possibility of new energetic connections to occur. Positive and a negative. See what's happening here? Like one leads to another. So to a certain degree right now, this is the energy in the separation right now, that even the separation is almost potentially feeling like this calling energy that's calling you forward to a certain extent to seek out connections that are helping you feel safe, seen, and supported. Okay? Now, masculine and feminine that are coming into the divine union frequency, this is going to feel like a lot of celebratory energy that's coming through. Why is this feeling like celebratory energy that's coming through right now? Because we saw over the last few days, we saw a lot of energy that's moving deep into the heart of the divine union frequency from that same sense of frustration, from that sense of the tangible circumstances around you becoming more of a negative than a positive. And there could even be a moment right now that feels like some timelines in terms of partnership are being ramped up, because it's almost looking right now as any of the hurdles, especially for the divine energetic connections right now, that are causing anything to feel like there's a separation point. It's like the amplification of the fact that the outside distractions almost feel like burdens now. So being able to build in this way right now is potentially creating a lot of adjustments right now, a lot of recalibration, if you will, in terms of plans and the path forward. But even now we see, and this is why we see that there may have been some energy of feminine feeling like the masculine kind of surprised them this week with something, like wanted to rush forward in a way that the feminine wasn't expecting. But we're seeing here that for the energy that was able to navigate the difference about the energetic surprise, how that might have made feminine kind of like back up and masculine want to rush forward. This is that moment that we saw, that the point of catharsis and understanding that you are both effectively experiencing the same desire to move forward to the same space, but feeling and reacting in a different way due to your own personal triggers. That in itself may have identified a point that may have felt like a conflict, but it's also amplifying the alignment that's here, especially if this is something that like created momentary turbulence, but then immediately righted. That is also, again, a point of celebration that we're seeing here, because that is almost a point of mutual observation, that even when there is a point of difficulty, it doesn't lead to separation. It almost leads to two energies that work very quickly to try to come back into alignment. Masculine and feminine in divine union right now, this is some of the hardest energy. This is one of those reversals. The energy yesterday was actually the hardest potentially for the energy in the divine union frequency, because that feeling of frustration It wasn't something that was going to necessarily allow for any kind of deepening of the pathwork between masculine and feminine. It was almost amplifying the difference in the energetic frequencies and how you handle or bear what feels like a feeling that you can't necessarily put your finger on. For masculine, it was looking for some point of activation. For feminine, it was moving more into point of conservation. So even now we see that having that point of recognizing and coming back into alignment, what did we see that was coming through for the energy in the divine union? Recognizing that you may have been accidentally or inadvertently triggering each other and utilizing that as a point of communication, productivity, and planning is now leading immediately to that sense of easement and things coming back into a sense of productivity today. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now. Second card in our 5-card spread for today. Wow, that's a big difference that's coming in right now. Balance. What feels like it is balance? And this is some of that easement that we are recognizing that is happening right now, particularly for some of the energy that is in separation, because there's something that we're seeing right now that's happening for the energy in separation that is becoming some kind of deeper lesson on what feels like it creates balance in your own life right now. There's some moment right now that's a point of observation. We see even now that some of this feeling, that oppressive energy that you may have felt yesterday that was driving you forward to seek out some energetic, like it was almost like trying to seek out some like breath of fresh air, if you will, just trying to come into that state or space of like a little bit of easement from your burdens. It is working. It is effectively working because it is creating a sense of energetic support around you that's helping you bear some of that heaviness. It's not the fact that this feels to a certain extent like it's making the energy vanish, if you will, but it's that sense of being able to share in that experience, carrying that weight across multiple backs, if you will, that lightens the load. And so we see even now that ability to share through these hardships right now, even articulating on that feeling, is immediately allowing a sense of balance to come through, because it's that sense that you're not letting it bear down on you entirely alone. It is that sense that you're experiencing it and you're not alone in that experience that is being amplified today, as even for the energy that is in separation. Because I told you, the energies that are on this healing journey, you're feeling that call forward to be able to build connection right now that's helping you find the connection that is simultaneously on the same pathwork. Masculine and feminine that are coming into divine union right now, this is that point of celebration, because it's seeing how even when things become difficult between you, your own ability to come back into alignment, taking that negative and being able to convert it into a positive very quickly, it's further amplifying the strength and security of the divine union frequency. A lot of energy moving up into the divine union frequency through these difficult circumstances because it's amplifying the positive. It's feeling, again, it's not that sense of surrendering what led before this, but it's recognizing and feeling that change and almost building and amplifying and building that connective tissue in an energetic connection in relation to all of the support that you're able to find within it. Masculine and feminine that are in the divine union right now, this is coming into a point of peace over something that you may have been feeling more prickly about in relation to some of that feeling, and coming into some of that feeling of what would have felt more like compromise yesterday. That was the problem that we're seeing for a lot of the energy of divine union yesterday. The frustration of amplifying what may have felt like more of a compromise is now coming into a little bit more right-headedness around something, and seeing the fact, almost seeing again the balance that is created when you're able to come into that point. This is the reward in doing that right now. That's feeling that energetic security coming back into play to a certain extent. That's coming through on the side of having to find what may have felt like a little bit of difficult energetic balance. So even here, we're seeing that this is a lot more peaceable energy that's coming in today. Third card in our 5-card spread for today is, we have here our Queen of Wands in its reversal. Remember how I was saying yesterday that one of the hurdles and challenges that we see right now is that masculine is taking more of a modality right now of wanting to rush forward, wanting to effectively act upon the way that they're feeling. Feminine is doing more unpacking right now, because this is feminine that if they're feeling something, they're asking themselves if there is something here that needs to be changed externally, or if there's something here that needs to be changed internally. So even now we see that for some of the feminine energy right now, this could still be feeling like some point of heaviness that's amplifying in the feminine, really asking their own self, what is moving them in the direction of their creativity? What feels like it is creating alignment? Where is feminine doubting themselves? So feminine may be becoming much more introspective today as a result of this, because again, this all, and I have to stress this isn't necessarily a negative that is occurring with a feminine in this modality, if in the divine union frequency, because the stability of the energy around the feminine, the balance that is being created around the feminine, is allowing a deepening in relation to personal introspection. And that personal introspection may be creating a space or place where the feminine may be feeling more reserved and quiet today. But again, that is feminine coming into a state of not wanting to feel like they want to take an activation point until they fully assess their own internal spiritual condition. Masculine and feminine right now that is coming into the divine union frequency, this again is something that may be noticed today if coming into the divine union frequency, because again, this is feminine. And what are we seeing here? I got to stress this. This is going to be some energy that's a little bit hard to navigate right now. I got to stress, if you're a divine feminine energy right now and you are moving into a state or space that feels like you're kind of getting what you are aspiring for, there could be this feeling right now that it's making you feel a little off center. It could be creating a state or space right now that's making you feel a little uncertain in this way, because again, what is effectively happening here? It's leading to this deepening introspection energy for the feminine that is coming into a point of energetic balance. So even now, coming into the divine union frequency, we are observing that this may be creating a lot of the feminine energy not being so verbal today, going very much inward, because there's almost something about, again, hitting some kind of milestone here. I have to stress, it's like the difference between like masculine having going into like a point of victory and wanting to have like a Super Bowl dance versus like feminine energy that has a point of victory and wants to get very quiet. It's like that sense of peace that potentially sometimes comes with the feminine energy when some kind of milestone has been crossed, as opposed to that like vitality. But we see even here, this is feeling like a sense of peace for the feminine right now. It's just making the feminine come through a little bit more restive right now, right? It's almost like being able to feel like that sense of like kicking back after like a job well done is coming through. It's like, not like, I don't want to party when you have a success point. It's like, what do you want to do when you have a success point? Do you want to have a party? Like, no, I don't want to have a party. I want to go lay down, right? That's like almost what some of the feminine energy is doing to a certain extent right now. Masculine, you may be seeing this on the part of a feminine. But you may also be, again, if you're in the divine union frequency, you may be coming to appreciate and understand this with the feminine energy. For the energy right now of the masculine in the divine union frequency, this is just recognizing that this is the modality that the feminine moves in, because you've been moving, again, in alignment with feminine energy. So it's almost that sense or that understanding that you're kind of seeing that this is just kind of like the way feminine energy reacts or moves sometimes, coming into a state of peace. Now, masculine in this modality right now, one of the only problems that we're potentially seeing is that masculine is feeling a lot more the opposite energy. Masculine's feeling more like, I need to stress here, this is more about that tuning of like the radio dial, because masculine is coming into that modality where they feel like they've accomplished something. They want to kind of move into that state of like more energy right now. This is feeling a little bit more vital right now for the masculine. So this may feel a little bit frustrating right now because, again, this can almost feel like masculine would like to move forward and do something with feminine right now. And feminine's like, okay, maybe we just not. Like, maybe we don't do anything. You know, like that's almost like what we're seeing to a certain extent here. Masculine and feminine energy that are in separation. What's interesting about this is feminine energy dragging themselves out beyond their own desire to. This is almost feminine energy putting their feet in front of themselves and saying, I don't really want to be doing this, but I know I should be doing this, right? This is that energetic equivalent right now of feminine, like almost like pushing themselves out their own front door and saying like, feeling a little grumpy about having to do something, but saying to themselves almost like one would, like a wounded inner child, like you'll feel better once you get there. You'll feel better once you get out and do these things. So even now for the feminine energy and separation, this is almost amplifying some of that energy that we saw yesterday about, this is sometimes what we see happens moving at a time of frustration. It's not necessarily a desire center. It's a frustration matrix that's kind of pushing you forward. So it could be this moment of, again, one foot in front of the other, feeling grumpy about it, but doing what you know is best. Masculine energy, if you're in separation right now, you could be experiencing and seeing a feminine energy that you're seeing in this modality. This could be a masculine energy right now that, again, is either working to try to build back forth with a feminine that isn't necessarily in a space or place of communicating at this time because they've reached an exhaustion point, or this is masculine energy that may be building forth in new connections with feminine and seeing that hesitancy, seeing that reluctance to a certain degree, almost feeling like you have to kind of pull the feminine energy out to do things right now because the feminine energy is in a place of deep, heavy introspection. So there could be a moment right now that may feel like masculine is trying to like help feminine energy because it's almost feminine energy feeling like they're trying to like back out of plans to a certain extent. Or like, like it's almost like needs to be encouraged outwards. But what's interesting about this right now for some of the masculine energy, this isn't necessarily feeling like a stoppage point. This is almost feeling like you're wanting to bring balance towards this feminine because even in separation right now, this is articulating and amplifying to me something about recognizing and understanding why the feminine is in this mode. Fourth card in our 5-card spread for today is... I can't. Remember I said somehow, oh my God, this is wild. Somehow the masculine energy understands why the masculine energy is because like, yeah, me too. What did I tell you about these energies in separation being in alignment? Like this frequency is almost one where like they're basically sharing the same energetic frequency right now. Even the energy in separation is like, this is that grumpiness, this is that frustration, this is that desire of not wanting to go forth right now, but almost dragging yourself forward to a certain degree. So for the energy right now in separation, this is one of those moments that it feels like, this could be feeling like plans are getting changed, plans are getting canceled, because like it's almost like coming into a state of just like building comfort, right? It's almost like just building this point of like not wanting effectively to feel like that there's something about like this comfort level that's coming in for some of the energy and separation right now that's like almost immediately like it's like moving into like cozy mode to a certain extent, because that ability in terms of like looking at something right now and again pushing oneself. Look at this energy. I told you this energy is all set or primed to meet one another, because this is energy that is both saying to themselves in separation right now, I should probably not go out. I don't feel like I need to go out. I don't want to, but I need to. I don't want to be out with people, but I know that I should, based on some of that energy that we saw that was coming through the other day. Pushing oneself out the door, if you will, is something that both masculine and feminine are doing right now. So do you see these two grumps? Do you see these two grumps that are like putting one foot in front of each other right now and are about to like bonk into each other? Like we're basically seeing this to a certain extent. Because why is this happening? This is feminine ideally aspiring and saying, I'm going forward towards energy that I know is going to support me, but it's not necessarily the energy that I truly aspire and desire to communicate with right now. Masculine is doing the same thing right now. If this is feminine energy that was effectively looking and waiting for masculine to come towards them with what they're effectively needing, this is feminine basically going, I have to go seek it out. I don't aspire to seek it out. I'd rather wait for it. But this is feminine energy saying I can't necessarily wait any longer. So this is feminine energy going forth in this way. This is masculine. If the masculine went forward to feminine with their openness, their honesty and truth, and instead this led to a reactivity or a rejection scenario, and this is masculine who's been waiting for feminine to kind of be able to turn that page and be able to rebuild with the masculine in this way. This is masculine saying, I can't just sit around waiting here. I can't just wait for someone to come forward and build with me in this way. I need to get myself out. So both of these energies in separation, begrudgingly going out. And guess what? They're in perfect alignment. Masculine and feminine. They're in perfect alignment. Masculine and feminine right now. This is going to feel like breakthrough energy for the energy that is coming into divine union. Because that restive energy, that quality of exhaustion may have had a little bit of turmoil yesterday. But here's the thing, that turmoil is coming through with a huge level of peace and catharsis. Because what we're identifying that's happening right now for the energy that's in alignment is recognizing that even through a point of conflict yesterday, your own ability to resolve through it so easily is amplifying in how quickly you can recover from situations or circumstances where, again, it doesn't mean that when you're coming into divine union, everything's always peaceful in the kingdom. It just means the fact that there's an ability to mollify and to work through it that is the gift of the divine energy. So we see here that even for the energy of masculine and feminine right now, this could be leading to a lot of internal introspection and a lot of balance. But the nice thing about this right now is this is taking, and this is where the energy coming into the divine, that's in the divine union frequency, it may be feeling a little bit more isolating because that energy that feels like a breakthrough right now, that feels like that sense of breakthrough energetically for the energy moving into divine union, because this is almost like coming into alignment, speeding up some process because you recognize that that feeling of being together is almost feeling more like inevitable because of the ease that you build forth with each other on. We're seeing that for the energy right now in the divine union frequency, this is leading to a little bit more what could potentially feel like separation because you guys are navigating in the same space. You're feeling separate together. You're making a point of balance together. You both feel like to a certain extent that you're not moving in the direction that you would aspire and desire to completely. But again, the weight of the energetic balance of the divine union feels to a certain extent like this is the amplification of why you recognize that your ability to stay in the divine union frequency is one that is built with intentionality, because that is an energetic system that thinks more about what is best energetically prior to putting the needs of the self first. So even now, recognizing and paying attention to that frequency is one that you are mindful of, and you're able to almost step back, to not move with the same expediency as you would for the sake of preserving the energetic harmony of the situations and circumstances around you. So this is that beauty that we're seeing that is occurring right now, even at a moment that you may be feeling a little bit more, still feeling, especially in the divine union frequency, that sense of frustration, and potentially that sense that could be amplifying is a little bit of energetic or spiritual exhaustion. Fifth card in our 5-card spread for today is this card just showing up like hotcakes right now. Masculine and feminine energy in the divine union frequency. I need to stress that the divine union frequency right now, this could be articulating the energy in the divine union frequency, feeling a little bit rough, even in the frequency of divine union. Why? Because we recognize that even yesterday there was very triggering energy that was coming through. And that triggering energy, even for the energy in the divine union, it was harder for the divine union energy to bear because it wasn't necessarily something that could lead to some kind of breakthrough action. It was almost having to look at something and make some kind of future plans or making some kind of modifications, having to effectively come into an alignment that wasn't necessarily exactly what you would aspire and desire to. Even now, what we are effectively identifying here energetically is something that may feel that you're in the divine union frequency, but you're feeling a little energetically connected from the energy that you're currently in the divine union with. How do we build forth on this? We build forth on this by, again, ascertaining and working through what feels like it is productive, what feels like it is building that network of connection for themselves right now. Even now we see, and this is what's so important and beautiful for the energy in the divine union. One of the things that's happening here is that reminder that another person is not just built to be able to serve another's needs. Even here, one of the things that we're seeing that is allowing for a lot of this beautiful energy that's coming through in the divine union frequency is that observation that the energetic connection shouldn't be a need-based connection. So that's why we see, to a certain extent, these energies right now looking for productive and spaces and places to build out on any feelings of frustration at this time, because this is that amplification point in realizing that another energetic connection doesn't necessarily mean that someone else is our be-all and end-all, that we can seek things through other energies that we effectively aren't necessarily being able to build forth with right now in relation, even in the energy of divine union. So we appreciate this right now because we're seeing here that even at a point of navigating what may be feeling like differing desires or differing speeds on things right now, we are recognizing and identifying the ability to build forth in community to help almost pick up the slack in terms of not putting too much weight on another person in relation to what we aspire and desire towards right now. So we see that even now, some of that difficult work, channeling that into productivity, is what is allowing energetic amplification of connectivity at this time. So this could be feeling right now like there is some of that more introspective, isolating energy that is coming through right now. And it may even be amplified by any rough patches that were hit even in the divine union right now. But again, this ability to come into alignment even through that rough patch right now is the amplification of the stability of the connection. Masculine and feminine right now, moving into the divine union stream, this is effectively overcoming any hurdles that feel like it's making it harder to be in connection. This is why this feels more useful right now, and it's going to feel more like a breakthrough in relation to the energy coming into divine union right now, because this is making those adjustment points, coming into mutual agreement on how to go forward right now. That is, again, it may have required a little bit of rockiness, but your own ability to come into that point of like mutual building together is the energetic breakthrough, because it's a sense of recognizing that having a momentary disruption doesn't effectively detrimentally impact the connection. It leads to productivity and possibility. Masculine and feminine in separation right now, that is that moment. This is the most begrudging energy. I gotta say, this is feeling like yakety snacks to a certain extent, because what we've got here that's effectively happening are two energies here in separation. They don't want to be going out. They don't want to be doing anything. They're going through or overcoming some kind of profound heartbreak at this time. They're not in that energetic space or place of ideally desiring to come into union at this time. They're almost forcing themselves forward, putting one foot in front of the other, having that point of feeling like they've communicated all they can towards an energy that's not meeting them or not being able to provide them what they aspire and desire to be able to build forth towards right now. And what's effectively happening? They're almost going out saying, this is definitely not the person. This is definitely not the person. This is not going to be the person. We'll see. We'll see. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our 10 of Pentacles in combination with our Justice card. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our 2 of Pentacles in its reversal. Masculine and feminine energy in the divine union frequency. This is why we see even now there is a feeling that may be feeling a little bit difficult, because we see here that there is a weight that is being borne right now, even in the divine union frequency, in terms of assessing What feels like it creates balance? This is that moment of identifying and recognizing that even in the divine union frequency, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to move with one another at every time and point. But energetically, there is something about building harmony. So being able to make those determination points right now, finding that point of balance right now, it does feel like, in a way, it is almost like fine-tuning an instrument to a certain degree. And it's difficult work is what we're effectively seeing right now, because that ability of making choices is, again, potentially leading to some sensation right now for masculine and feminine in not necessarily getting exactly what you want, but also recognizing that that is almost what is necessary in order to continue to maintain the vibration of the divine union. We saw here, masculine wanted to speed something up, feminine wanted to move more slowly. Finding that modification point right now is like that needle coming into bear. And while it's straightening out, we can see here that there's already some kind of feeling of peace that's being restored. But at the same time, it is feeling a little bit frustrating because the energies right now are adapting and changing and acclimating to the adjustments that are necessary to meet the other. Masculine and feminine, this is going to feel more like an energetic breakthrough if you're coming into divine union right now, because this isn't feeling so much like a frustration point as it is recognizing your own ability to navigate difficulty and come into alignment. Is that security of what you're effectively creating at this time. It's almost reinforcing what you're able to do, and a point of disharmony is amplifying the security of the harmony that you're creating at this time. Masculine and feminine in separation right now. This is effectively not necessarily wanting to go forward right now, because there's almost this moment of feeling like, again, it almost feels like some of the energy right now feels like they're sending themselves forward because they're almost going through the motions, if you will, saying, I have to do these things. I know I should. It's not necessarily what I aspire and desire to do, but almost feeling like you don't have a choice right now. That energetic feeling of feeling like there's one foot in front of the other, like, is like, it's not like making like the happy person here doing this. This is almost someone being like, I'm going to drink my water. I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to go out where people are. I'm going to be good to myself. Like forcing yourself to do those things is effectively, again, allowing you to come into that point of breakthrough, because again, it is begrudging, but it's almost seeing like, again, there's an alignment that's coming to in terms of these two energies. What did I say? Bonking into each other in the sense of effectively saying, I'm just doing this because I have to. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Justice and our Queen of Wands in its reversal. One card to clarify. There's a lot of grief here. I told you. The healing cycle often has a lot of grief that's potentially attached to it. There's an energy here that's almost saying to themselves, I'm doing these things, I'm going out, but there's something about this, almost like there's energy that's meeting new energy right now saying, I'm not going to take this really seriously. I am not in a space or place, and I'm still healing. There is a wound here. I'm still navigating this hurt. So we're almost seeing here energetically, this is feminine to a certain extent, even potentially saying to new energy that they're meeting, I don't know if I'm ready. There's a lot of pain here. What is masculine saying to feminine? If they meet right now, ditto. Who hurt you? I keep saying, it's not who hurt you, it's who hurt you. Who hurt you? Showing each other the wounds, showing each other the scars, observing and identifying is coming through right now. These connections are coming in by the expression of being able to articulate. And almost two energy saying, I am a mess right now. I should not be here. And the other energy being like, same. Let's talk about. You want to go grab a drink and talk about like how much we're hurting? Like it's literally coming through to that to a certain extent. Masculine and feminine that are coming into the divine union frequency. I need to stress, it's okay right now. Energetically, if there's energy right now that's moving forward and coming into the divine union frequency, and you're feeling, this is feminine. I have to stress this. There's something that's happening here that could be a moment of feeling to a certain extent. If something is moving in a positive way, why do I feel so sad? If I'm moving in a space or place where things feel like they're happy, what is this pain? Because the ability to be able to finally move into something that feels like it is comfortable is now allowing you the ability to finally experience the healing that is required around something. It's the difference between moving around and walking in a space or place where you are getting wounded versus finally being in a place where you can look and address a wound. So we see that even now energetically, for a lot of the energy in divine union, your ability to recognize how easily you can build forth with an energy that comes into a state or space of healing with you easily, instead of taking a negative and making that negative greater, or utilizing that negative to create an abandonment wound. It may be hearkening back to situations and circumstances where that occurred. So recognizing and identifying this right now, it may feel like, again, like, why am I crying? Like, why, if something's going so well, am I feeling so sad? Because it's the observation of the moments when it didn't. Masculine and feminine energy coming into union from that state of deep, profound catharsis right now. It's heavy, but there's space in the partnership to hold that heaviness because it has weight. It is not a shallow connection. It has the room for that as well. The energy right now in the divine union, that sense of catharsis, that ability to build forth even when you're feeling at your lowest. What's beautiful about this right now for the energy in the divine union is there could be this feeling of somewhat, I got to stress, even in divine union, if you're deep in the heart of the divine union frequency right now, this is heavy energy. This is feeling, again, this could almost be like, why do I feel so sad right now? You're holding a lot of weight. You're even holding a lot of weight for the energy not in the divine union frequency right now. Right? We're seeing here, it's hard because one of the problems that we're seeing right now is, again, being in the heart of the energetic union, the divine union frequency, can sometimes make it feel like it's isolating because you're putting others before the self. You're putting energetically others before the self right now. So what are we seeing that's happening here? That moment of catharsis is being amplified, but it's also that recognition of not necessarily feeling like you're doing that alone. All right? It's almost that feeling, and this is why we see that there may be a moment right now. I need to stress for some of the energy right now in the divine union frequency. If you need some time away from each other, that's okay. Like, that's all right. That's the recognition point that, again, a good relationship is not based on feeling like you need to be strapped to each other's hip all the time. This is the beauty of the divine union, is recognizing and amplifying and saying, looking for the place of productivity to help you even through the hurdles of being in divine union. That's okay. That energy can also be divine. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now is between the Queen of Wands in its reversal and the King of Wands in its reversal. Do you see this? This is why these energies right now may need to kind of not there. I have to stress what's happening here is these energies are in such alignment that they're in the same vibration. So when we've got two energies that are feeling energetically low, it can be hard for those energies to pull themselves up. That's why we might need some of the heavy lifting with other energy around us right now in the divine union frequency. We're all bearing that together, as it were. One card to clarify. That in itself is the gift here, because what we're effectively identifying right now, this is almost masculine and feminine energy in the divine union frequency, almost looking to the partner and saying, I feel low today. I feel introspective. And the other person's going, me too. Not feeling great. The other person going, me neither. That ability to share that lowness, in a sense, is the point of victory, because you're almost seeing and saying they're in the exact same space. We're on the same frequency. We're on the same frequency. We're on the same frequency. It's like almost that, like, oh, like that, like, yeah, that's what happens. You're on the same frequency. When they're low, they're low. When you're like, it's like feeling that and energetically experiencing this right now is almost requiring the energy right now to move outside of the self to help amplify the positivity. Because again, you can see what the other needs, but what may be happening right now is recognizing and saying, they need something I can't provide right now. They need something I can't provide. So what are they saying right now? Which is like looking at someone being like, have you done this right now? Why don't you go down, do that? Do those things that help bring you up, because we both need to do that right now, okay? Masculine and feminine, your ability to navigate through a moment like this, if you're coming into divine union, is the breakthrough energy. Because it's a reminder that doesn't mean, again, this is almost giving like the type of energy of someone having like the first fight or the first struggle point. Because your own ability to write forward on something, to immediately take a negative and bring it back into a positive, is the victory lap here. Because it's that reminder right now that, again, it doesn't mean that you guys are always in lockstep. It's that moment of understanding that there's space and place for you guys to navigate those hurdles together that even brings into a productivity space. Energy and separation right now, I'm telling you, this weekend is going to be a riot, because I'm telling you right now, there's going to be a lot of energy that's going to meet their new energetic counterpart this weekend. And they're going to go towards it going, I do not want to go meet this person. This is not the person. This is not the one. I am not ready. I'm forcing myself to do these things. Look what's happening here. And the other energy going, me too. I don't want to be here either. And guess what? Wonderful. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our King of Wands in combination with our Lovers. I don't even want to be here. I'm not like, look at this. Energetically, both of these energies right now, potentially in separation. May I please have one card to clarify? Queen of Swords. Masculine and feminine in separation right now. One of the things that we're seeing that's potentially happening here is, again, I just keep seeing that there may be something that feels like the energetic equivalent right now of someone trying to, like, this may be coming through right now as a masculine seeing and meeting like a very prickly feminine energy over the, like, right over this period right now. Because this is almost feminine energy being like, this is what I don't want, this is what I do want. Like, this is almost feminine being like very like brass tacks to a certain extent. And this is masculine potentially, again, in that same state or space that's potentially looking towards a feminine and being like, I understand why. I understand why. This is almost a masculine saying, I understand why. But what we're seeing here, which is very interesting, is the fact that we're identifying that this is feminine energy, that this is almost amplifying both energies right now, basically saying, I don't know if I'm ready. Feminine basically saying to the masculine, the only thing that I can't take is if you're potentially deceptive to me. This is masculine potentially saying to feminine, well, good for you. I'm literally in separation right now because I was too honest. See these two? See these two? Feminine saying, I can't tell you. I just came out of something someone wasn't honest. And masculine saying, well, I just came out of something because someone didn't want me to be honest. And so even now we see that these energies are very much in alignment right now on the healing journey to potentially encounter one another. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now. This ability in recognizing your own space and place of being able to find that point of mid-journeying, of being able to come into a point of balance, of recognizing and identifying, even now, coming into divine union and the heart of divine union, it's not the fact that it means that you guys are always in perfect harmony. In fact, we see here that there's a lot of energy right now that is potentially coming into the divine union frequency that just is coming through and like fortifying that partnership through a moment that felt like there was a misalignment. But what is feminine energy doing right now? Feminine energy is not just effectively going along with the masculine here. Feminine energy is laying those healthy boundaries. Masculine is not necessarily just doing what they feel like their desire is calling forth on right now. They're being attentive to feminine's boundaries. Finding that ability to hit that midpoint is allowing a breakthrough to a certain extent, because this is feminine and masculine coming into a point of a consistency of partnership. Even at a moment that may have been articulated on an inconsistency point. Now, masculine and feminine in the divine union frequency, this feels more like just points of frustration that you're navigating right now. Feminine energy, again, this could be leading right now for the energy in the divine union, feeling a little bit more defensive. This is feminine energy almost working through a lot of boundary work for the feminine right now, because even now we see something about, this is still recovering from something that feels like masculine wanted to drive forward in something, feminine wanted to slow things down. There's still some nuance here that's being recovered to a certain extent. This is feeling like this is some kind of continuing dialogue, if you will, in terms of how to build forth in productive spaces and places going forward. So even now we see, and this is the beauty right now of the energy in the divine union, constant fine-tuning, constant modification, realizing that the partnership itself is not something just stays the same way. It shifts as you shift. So we see here that even navigating that energetic shift that's happening right now is requiring a lot of reassessment on what feels like it is balanced, because this could be a moment where what felt balanced on one, like at one point, no longer feels balanced on another. That this in itself changes as we change. So having that point of reassessing is now almost coming into bear for the energy deep in the heart of the divine union frequency. It's like that checkup energy on the partnerships themselves. But we see here that for the energy in the divine union frequency, that's not a bad thing. That's a positive, because you're being very attentive to what you feel like you need to bring towards a partnership to allow it to stay in a point of deep healing. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Two of Pentacles in combination with our Three of Swords. Clarification. We love this. Our Sun card. This is effectively allowing points of positivity and productivity through difficulty. Assessing what is feeling like the problematic spaces and places. Allowing that to help build points of modification and better alignment is leading to possibility here. Positivity here. Now, masculine and feminine in the divine union frequency. This is feeling like it's a lot of bittersweet energy that's coming to bear right now. Right? It's that moment right now that we see is like that focus point on building that sense of overall happiness and contentment. And what we're effectively seeing right now is, again, there could be something that is expressing right now, even for the energy of the divine union, that feels like the difference between a momentary point of pain or frustration versus the long-term path forward. So we even recognize right now that that moment, that point, remember I said that point of compromise that some of the energy in the divine union had to hit yesterday, particularly in terms of how masculine wanted to move versus how feminine wanted to move, bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. It could be that feeling of, like, again, having to navigate something that isn't necessarily exactly what you aspire for right now, or in the way that you would right now, but overall is creating that sense of mutual contentment. So that ability here is being amplified in the divine union frequency. And even now we see that that may feel like something that feels a little up and down, a little like bittersweet here. Because it's the joy, it almost feels like the amplification right now of all joy, no fun to a certain extent right now for some of the energy in the divine union, right? Whereas for the masculine and feminine energy coming into the divine union, this moment is amplifying, as it were, the ability to overcome hardship and still be in a good place. So what we're seeing here is that ability to come into a point of contentment is almost building a layer or degree of security right now. This is the thing that is amplifying and helping energy right now elevate into divine union, because that observation point of saying, like, wow, we can go through something difficult and still come out on the other side and come into agreement is feeling like a breakthrough, because it's just starting to happen. That ability itself is a gift. The problem with the energy in the divine union is you're used to that gift. It's not something that feels like a celebration point to discover that you have it, because it becomes so, like, it just feels like it's something that you're always accommodated to. You're always acclimated to do, as it were. Now, masculine and feminine energy, what am I telling you right now in separation? We've got a lot of energy right now that's like, I am forcing myself to go be happy. I am forcing myself to go have fun. I am forcing myself to go out and do the things I need to do. I'm going to force myself to do these things. I don't want to be doing them. And what's coming as a response of it? Joy. Gratitude. Sometimes, if you're sitting in the shade and the sunlight's over there, you can't just sit in the shade and wait for the sunlight to come into the shade. You got to take those steps forward. So we see that a lot of the energy right now that is moving in this way is almost saying like, fine. And it's just like forcing themselves forward to a certain extent. But again, when you get there, you'll feel better. So let that kind of encourage you right now is effectively what we're seeing. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Three of Swords in combination with our Six of Wands and its upright. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification. Look at this. Look at this abandonment wound that's being healed today. Why? Because look what's happening. The energy that's working on the healing cycle isn't letting themselves get triggered by the abandonment wound. It's not that the abandonment wound isn't there. The abandonment wound saying, stay inside. Don't go out. Don't go do those things. Just be grumpy. Like, listen to that little, like, negativity voice. It's saying, like, you know, you're all alone. This is the energy right now saying, no. If I'm alone, it's because I'm choosing to be alone. I don't have to be alone. I've got options here. Like, speaking back against this to a certain extent is what we're seeing is helping right now amplify a lot of energy that is encountering that abandonment wound and saying, I'm not listening to that little voice. I'm not listening to that thing that's telling me to just like sulk here. I'm not going to listen to that energy that says I should just kind of sit in that point of lowness. I'm going to go take a walk. I'm going to go step out into the light. I'm going to go where the people are. I'm going to go where the positivity is. I'm not going to let this be a moment that I stay in this place. I'm going to observe that I'm hurting and it feels good to be in that moment of hurt, but I'm not letting myself sulk through it. So we see that for a lot of the energy right now in separation, this ability to focus on the positive, to put one foot in front of the other, is recognizing and saying, like, if I'm in the shade, I better go step out into the sunlight. It'll make me feel better. I'm going to do that. I'm going to make myself go through these motions right now, and recognizing that I will probably feel better when I get there because I'm removing myself from the place or space that is triggering the abandonment wound. Masculine and feminine that are coming into divine union right now, this is the breakthrough energy. Because what do we see? This is a huge accomplishment. This is a huge mile marker. Because this ability to see and experience each other's abandonment wounds, having the ability of the trigger to be there, but instead of reacting via the abandonment wound, instead of doing that, but instead of observing, recounting to each other, navigating it together, moving with intentionality is what's led to a productive conclusion, allowing an easement point even while being triggered. It's not that we can remove the trigger. It's how we respond and react to the trigger is effectively amplifying the success point here, because it's seeing someone's triggers and realizing, oh, look, they know how to do it too. It's not requiring you to pretend that you're not triggered. It's moving from a state of authenticity and saying, we can channel this and move it into a productive space and place. Masculine and feminine in divine union frequency. This is feeling a little bit more like frustrating energy to a certain extent. Because again, you may be in a moment or space where you already are aware of each other's triggers. You already are aware. You're already aware of those moments. And we see here that ability to navigate them is coming more in the realm of modification. It's coming more in the realm of adjustment. Because one of the things that we saw right now is effectively looking at something in relation to the energy in the divine union frequency. And almost looking at the movement of something forward here. And wanting to get into a deeper assessment of alignment, if you will. That is why we see here there's a lot of energetic work that's happening right now in relation to the fine-tuning of the energy already in the divine union frequency, in relation to what feels like it is comfortable on the long term. Because the energy in the divine union frequency, I need to stress, this is the energy that's actually trying to like eradicate the abandonment wound. That's what we're effectively seeing here. And so what we're identifying here that's effectively happening is almost looking at something and almost inquiring to each other where that wound is, to see if it's something that is permanently there or if it's something that can be eased or corrected. What will overcome it? Continuing to get clarification right now between our Six of Wands and our Queen of Swords. One card to clarify. Look at this energy. Feminine energy doing a lot of introspection right now, particularly in the divine union. I need to stress right now, if there's feminine energy that is moving right now in the divine union and there isn't this like need or ability to express here, this is feminine energy doing a lot of internal unpacking, as it were. A lot of internal unpacking to try to recognize and identify what that ideal long-term aspiration or manifestation goal is. Working with masculine to a certain degree as well. Because one of the things that we identified that was effectively happening yesterday, you will remember, we saw that for the energy in the divine union, masculine wanting to rush forward to a certain extent, feminine taking more of a reserved approach. Masculine conceding, allowing that point of saying, I'm moving on your timeline. Feminine also saying, I am trying to move forward on yours as well. So this is, again, feminine almost immediately going into some deep introspective energy to identify and articulate between what feels like it is a limitation point in the self versus what is something that can be overcome here. So this is almost why we see that a lot of this feminine energy right now is almost taking this on as a lot of internal path work, if you will. Masculine, seeing a feminine energy, being able to move in this capacity. Not only doing a lot of internal thinking right now, but almost articulating on that. Giving their own perception on things right now. This is that moment that is allowing for some point of clearing out of circumstances or situations that may have created a disruption point. Because this is that point that we're seeing that masculine, you are again feeling that sense of strength and validity and protectiveness towards the feminine energy. Because again, this isn't a feminine energy that allows themselves to experience a trigger. This is a feminine energy that effectively, in a moment of being triggered, goes inward, does a lot of assessment, and then results with coming through with a lot of articulation and clarity. So even now, masculine, seeing feminine that's like going through that process of self is helping the masculine do so to a certain extent, even while it is more difficult for the masculine to do so. Because this is masculine, it's almost observing that feminine in a point of stillness is almost doing like a lot of internal work and calculation within the self and understanding of the self prior to taking activation. So for masculine, observing and seeing a feminine that moves in this way, it is also building a sense of building your own path work, because this is almost you being able to take a page from the feminine's book and feel like that in a way is also helping you to a certain extent overcome your own abandonment wound that often potentially has you move acting first and thinking later. So here are the energies that are now starting to pull that positive out of the negative or the disruption point, building a point of internal clarity. Feminine, learning that point of activation. How did feminine learn the point of activation? Presence around healed masculine. Masculine and feminine that are coming into divine union. This is why we see that a lot of the energy of the masculine is feeling like there is a success metric here, because again, there's something about this right now that masculine is recognizing that by building a safe space for feminine, by building a place that you are willing to, again, step back, be conscientious and respectful of feminine energy's own processes, that's not a space or place that you lose out on. That's a space or place that opens up to you, because that's a feminine energy that feels that weight of being supported, seen, appreciated, prioritized by masculine energy, that is allowing for any of the negatives to immediately become a positive. that there's a feminine energy here that, again, is working with masculine, but that's not something that happens coincidentally. That is happening with masculine energy that is basically, again, having the power to step back and say, at your discretion, what is going to work for you? I'm not just moving this forward for the sake of myself. This is something that we are doing together. Masculine and feminine in separation. This is that moment that, again, masculine potentially seeing right now. This is masculine energy potentially moving towards the feminine with a point of accountability, recognizing like what they may not have brought to the table in the past that may have caused something to go wrong. Potentially, again, articulating and seeing a feminine that is now making them realize the differences in terms of like some of the energetic work that happens when you're working with the right energy here. Because that is what we're effectively seeing to a certain extent that's happening for some of the masculine energy and separation right now, is almost this moment of coming forward right now towards feminine, but doing so, like I just said, with the energy and said the same energy that's coming in the divine union. What's masculine doing? Is masculine trying to drive forward right now? This is masculine looking and assessing the feminine energy's own comfort level, taking more of that active listener approach, finding that there's a lot there to discover, finding that there's a lot there in terms of mutual journeying, finding that there's a lot of ability here in terms of understanding. So even now, for a lot of the masculine energy and separation, there's something here that amplification of separation point is now leading to a point of victory, because your own assessing of self, your recognizing of what you weren't bringing forth towards an energetic connection in the past, is now allowing for better connections of feminine in the future. Feminine, if you're coming through a space or place where you are now amplifying your own boundaries, you're putting a limitation point in what you are willing to take on versus what you recognize you cannot change and needs to be brought forth to you, you are also potentially experiencing a victory right now by connecting with a masculine that recognizes and appreciates the fact that that's what you need to be able to maintain a positive divine connection with feminine. So we see even now for these energies that are in separation, there's that reluctance point that's suddenly leading to like this breakthrough and being like, oh, there you are. Or, oh, there you are within the self. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Sun card in combination with our Five of Pentacles in its reversal. Clarification coming through right now with our Nine of Wands in its upright. Masculine and feminine in the divine union frequency. Even now, we see that there's a little trepidation here. Why is there trepidation? Because again, these energies are navigating an abandonment wound being triggered. This is okay. This is okay to see. The only time we want to see this card is in combination with this one, because this is that moment that the observation point, the breakthrough, is experiencing an abandonment wound and not activating on it, not letting it incur activity, taking a moment and going, whoa, I'm triggered. I know when I'm triggered, the last thing I want to do is act out on that trigger. I need to pull back. I need to assess. This is what we see that both energies are effectively doing right now. And it's leading to productivity in the divine union frequency. Because energetically, this is discovering and finding those triggers and allowing it to be a moment of positivity. But again, moving very carefully, because when we're in a space where we're potentially inadvertently being triggered, we don't sometimes recognize the full breadth of how our actions may be affected at the time of experiencing it. So we see here that even energetically right now, there may be a lot of assessing that's happening for the energy in the divine union frequency to better understand each other's triggers, to be more mindful of them in terms of how to move, not just within the self when they occur, but what would be best to bring forth to help someone at a time that they are feeling triggered. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union, the ability of someone to see you triggered, and instead of taking advantage of it, instead of trying to manipulate you with you, instead of trying to like amplify it, someone who navigates it with care, consideration, empathy, that is the breakthrough energy. Because that is seeing someone that, again, the value point is understanding someone who understands and knows our triggers, but doesn't utilize them to serve their own purposes, but instead takes care of them and is mindful of them, is building now that point of feeling like there is a true union energy that is happening here, because it is observing another who is as mindful and careful of our triggers as they are in recognizing and understanding their own. Masculine and feminine in separation right now. This is potentially effectively working through a moment right now in separation of meeting, having new energetic connections that are taking forth, and you're talking about your triggers. You're potentially talking about what has caused you to be in this space, and almost like, again, saying, I don't really want to be here. I got to be honest. This is not where I expected myself to be. This is not my ideal. And the other energy saying, well, same. Right? This is that breakthrough, and it's coming through the energies now connecting and being able to say, like, this is where I find myself. It's not my ideal, but this is where I find myself, and this is why I'm so protective right now. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Five of Pentacles in its reversal and our High Priestess energy. One card to clarify. Look at this. What's happening right now for the energy in separation? This is starting to see the results of putting one foot in front of the other. This is that moment again for feminine, and it feels heavy, because this is feminine energy that's looking forward right now, and they're leaving themselves open to new possibilities. This is feminine energy in separation that, again, is observing their own abandonment wound and feeling the weight, feeling the desire, feeling that need to go back to something that is inspiring an abandonment wound here. This could be feminine that may realize and recognize that in the past that energy of pulling away may have led the feminine to run forward. But now we see here that this is feminine energy that instead of running forward in the face of the abandonment wound, they're taking a moment to pause. They're taking a moment to consider. They're taking a moment to, again, allow for new possibilities. Allow for that breakthrough point in recognizing that the best way to navigate an abandonment wound isn't to run to the space or place that's creating the abandonment wound. It's to go to the spaces and places that aren't. So we see here that even now that feminine energy is moving forward, even if it's begrudgingly, to see what awaits them, taking that energy. I told you, breaking through that uncertainty and looking at the uncertainty and the unknown now is a space or place that is abundant with possibility. Masculine energy in separation right now, you're potentially going through the same moment right now, and this could be potentially happening if you're in separation. And again, your abandonment wound, you're not shutting down. You're not trying to build a wall of illusion with feminine. If this is something that you recognize that you tried to open up and it created a rejection point, what are you doing? You're staying open. Because this is masculine energy that says moving in integrity doesn't limit your possibilities. It ensures that you're going to find the energetic equivalent that wants to meet you in your truth and is also experiencing their truth as well. The only way to find what you are truly seeking, masculine, is by moving forward with absolute integrity and absolute authenticity. How are you going to find what is for you if you are not embodying who you truly are? So we see that for masculine energy, that point of observation is also now leading to an abundance of possibility through the act of vulnerability and openness. Masculine and feminine coming into the divine union frequency. A masculine and feminine both seeing the value point of recognizing, having those triggers observed. Masculine seeing a feminine that can navigate and talk through their triggers. Masculine, you also learning the ability to stay open to feminine towards your triggers being activated, allowing that not to be a space that you push away from each other, but speaking through it leaves a whole giant dynamic of possibilities. Because even in that moment that a trigger is hit, it doesn't limit the conversation. It doesn't make it myopic. It leaves it open to the possibility of unpacking what may have created the trigger in the first place. While for the energy right now in the heart of the divine union frequency, this is feminine energy healing from those abandonment wounds. And that is coming through with masculine, who is also healing from abandonment wounds. Both energies putting those triggers on display for the other, because they realize and they value that the more that they build the trust here is by encountering those triggers to effectively assess and ascertain if some of these abandonment wounds can just be removed entirely. This is the work we can really get to the bottom of once we're in the divine union frequency. Is there a way to just nullify the abandonment wound to allow for higher alignment? Final card in the spread between our Nine of Wands in combination with our Seven of Cups. May I please get one card to clarify? Rebuilding, Three of Pentacles. So again, the act of being in the divine union does not mean that you're just in the union and nothing changes. It is a shifting, growing, expansive territory. Every moment that you get to know each other more, every moment that you understand each other more, every moment that you evolve or you adapt or you change, it is always transforming. It is always changing shape. This is allowing, this elasticity is being amplified through a constant pursuit in terms of understanding the comfort levels and the boundaries of what you're creating with the other right now. So even now in this moment of seeing a point where the feminine wanted to slow down on something and masculine wanted to move forward, this ability now is, again, it's not creating a hard space. It's creating a moment of two energies that are willing to be adaptable for the other. And building into that adaptability framework is now, again, opening up possibilities in terms of how to move forward. This is the productivity in terms of a trigger being hit. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union. This ability of, again, recognizing that a hurdle or an argument doesn't create a limitation point. It actually opens up the sphere of possibilities. Is, again, it feels like that point of recognizing that partnership doesn't have to be an enclosing space. It is one that continually expands and opens. So we see here energetically that even now, that breakthrough energy, it feels like something is growing, but it doesn't feel like the divine union is confining so much as it's creating new territory through which you can build together. Masculine and feminine that are in separation. This is that moment that you're forcing yourself to confront the new possibilities. You're moving against the abandonment wound that's telling you that you need to sit around and wait to see if someone's going to come back, or sit around and chase someone that's forcing you through their silence not to come towards you right now. And you are taking this opportunity to realize the possibilities that are beyond that matrix of your own personal wound. And it does feel like you have to push yourself forward to a certain extent. But look, that is the direction where the new possibilities exist. And we see here that you're basically finding yourselves in that space right now. Bottom of the deck on this reading. Same card as yesterday. I need to say here, I gotta stress, there's something really important about this right now. Okay? Because this has to do with the nuance of what everybody desires. Okay, desire is important, right? The important thing that we're recognizing here is the idea of channeling the desire in a space that recognizes that when we move in a place of personal empathy, personal consideration, another person's desires do not need to limit our own. That there's a moment and opportunity where everyone can have what they want, so long as we are all mindful on how we need to move to facilitate that occurring. So we see here that even now energetically, for the energy in the divine union frequency, this may feel like a little bit of struggle work here, because we see that there's a big amplification right now in terms of the desires of the masculine versus the desires of the feminine. Finding that nuance point where those overlap is the breakthrough that allows for that move into productivity right now through a moment of adversity. masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now, this is that moment that, again, it almost opens or awakens a lot of possibility here. So we see even now there may be something that is happening that you may be understanding and recognizing, like where you go from here is a bit more of an open book than you may have aspired to realize, because this is almost realizing and real, especially if this is energy that's just coming into the frequency heavily for the first time. It may feel like you're like dealing with a connection that's like on a whole different level than anything that you may have experienced before. While for masculine and feminine in separation right now, this is the fact that your desire is still connected potentially to some energetic equivalent that's not meeting you in terms of your long-term manifestation goals. And we see here that energetically right now, this is feeling like a little bit of that back and forth, because this is why we see right now, especially if there's energy trying to push forward here, it's not due to lack of desire for some kind of past connection. It has more to do with whether that connection was able to match your own frequency in coming into alignment as it relates to being able to build forth a connection that isn't just one that is based on fulfilling of a personal desire. And that takes energy that is willing to come into compromise, consistency. So we see here that those connections can be the hardest ones to break, because that connection link is the first one that we're often able to have. It is like a firework. It connects us quickly, but it requires the consistency of all the other things that need to be taken shape around it to build forth from it. So we see even now that that connection point, that passion center, is still holding forth for a lot of energy right now in separation. It is waiting to see if someone can build the architecture of something that comes forward in a stable, emotional way, because this can't do all the heavy lifting. That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you guys so much for being here and experiencing it. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, you can book one on my website, graystrega.com. My private readings are done over video, and if you are a subscriber to my TikTok, you can take 10% off any of my services when you pay. Just mention your subscriber ID at the point of payment. Please keep in mind, if you book a private reading with me, it is a two-step process. You have to book the reading and you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you'd like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never PM you. I will never DM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my website. So I encourage you to do it there. I'd like to thank you guys so much for being here with me today and sharing with me in these messages. And we will do this again tomorrow.